Hey everybody, Shawn Holsinger here from HolsingerFlyShop.com. Bringing you a fly tying video again this week, and this week I'm tying a nymph pattern. The nymph I'm going to tie this week is called Whitlock Squirrel Nymph. It's been around for a while. It uses Whitlock's dubbing blends in red fox squirrel abdomen and thorax. And pretty simple. You use the abdomen for the abdomen section and the thorax for the thorax section. It's a great fly, and it imitates the sulphurs, which are happening to be hatching right now here in central Pennsylvania where I'm from. So this is one of the patterns that is my go-to for sulphurs. I also will use the abdomen color dubbing and tie a sexy waltz worm with it. And I do real well for that during the sulphur hatch too. By the way, right now I am just crushing on waltz worms. Sexy waltz worms in the natural color has been what's working for me, and I'm doing quite well with it. But since the sulphurs are coming off, it doesn't hurt to have one that matches them. And this fly will do that for you. So enough talking, let's get into tying it. Very simple fly, and it's going to be a very quick fly this week. So here it is, the red fox squirrel nymph in the vise, and then the material list to tie it. Okay, here you see it in the vise. Very simple fly. Let's get into tying it. For a hook, I'm using a Holsinger's Fly Shop jig hook. This is a size 14. I would tie it in 14s and 16s. And the bead I'm using on this 14 is a 3.3 millimeter slotted bead. You could definitely go smaller. I'm just putting a couple oversized ones in my box. These are for me, for my box. And I want the 3.3. So I'm going to start out with some orange 140 Denier thread back there. And I'm just going to kind of wrap that bead in place a little bit, not build up too much. The next thing we're going to throw on is some gold wire. This is BRASSIE sized. And I didn't get it cut beforehand, so give me a second. And then I'm just going to tie that on to the side here and get it down out of the way. Next, we're going to put on the tail. For the tail, I'm using a Mallard flank feather, and I've torn some fibers off of this one, but just going to tear some fibers off and try to get the ends straight, and we're just going to set it up on top there. And now this is the tips of one that I have plucked off the sides of here. So we're going to get it where we want it, and then I'm going to pull it in to get it the length that I want it, which is right about there. That's good. Try to keep your wraps to a minimum. Don't build up too much on this fly. The next thing we're going to do is some SLF dubbing blends. This is Red Squirrel Nymph Abdomen, or Red Fox Squirrel Abdomen, I should say. And I want very little here. I want this to be a nice thin body, so I'm going to keep stretching it out and twisting it down to make it just cover the thread, like I always say. Just change the color of your thread with your dubbing. And then we're going to start that on right at the tail, make nice side-by-side wraps, get right up there behind that bead, and stop about an eye length behind the bead. Now I like to counter wrap my wire. If you counter wrap it, the wire tends to not sink into your wraps as much, so it shows up a little bit better. And just bring it right up there to that bead and tie it off. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to put a collar on this, and for that I'm using some Red Squirrel Nymph Thorax. And again, I'm going very lightly. About half as much as the abdomen color. You can make this a little thicker, but don't go overboard. And then we're just going to wrap that right behind and give us a nice dark thorax here. And then come back up here to whip finish to make, and we're using the orange thread here to make a little hot spot collar. So I'm going to make 2 like 3 or 4 wrap whip finishes, and that will make my hotspot color. And that's all that's to this great little fly that is a good sulphur imitation, but will catch fish any time of the year pretty much. Alright guys, I hope you like that pattern. Like I always say, I like bringing generic style patterns, and that's what this is. It's a generic pattern that you could use other colors for to match other hatches and do just great with it. Definitely downsize this. I tied in 14 on the video here, but as the sulphur hatch starts out, it's up and around the 14. Even I've seen some even close to 12s. And then as it goes on, it'll drop down in sizes, and there'll be 16s and 18s. So definitely tie this smaller. 14's really about the biggest I would go. Unless you're just tying it as a generic nymph, then use it as a 12. I went a little heavy on the bead because I want it to be my point fly, my anchor fly to get me down. Definitely downsize the bead on this. It's just, that's the way I wanted to tie these for my box, which is where they're going. They're going in my box. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, drop me a comment down below there, and I'll get back to you. I like replying to your comments, and being interactive with my page is a lot of fun. So any comments or questions, you can also email me at holsingersflyshop@gmail.com. So until next week, guys, when I bring you another video, I'm Shawn Holsinger.